There are 10 parties contending Iceland's 63 parliamentary seats. But it's the opposition Pirate Party which is grabbing all the attention with its plans for what it calls grassroots democracy.
Icelanders have really embraced the idea of being more involved in the political process directly for different pieces of legislation.
The Pirate Party has ridden on a wave of dissent and protest which followed the 2008 financial crisis in Iceland and the financial scandal of 2016, which forced the then Prime Minister to quit. Constitutional reform is the Pirates' centrepiece policy, and it struck a chord with the voters.
Well, we have previously discussed the war on porn, which is actually it's a war on freedom of speech. You know, let's be accurate to the situation. Is that the reason this whole attack, and especially in the U.S., that it's going on, is that they're trying to change laws that basically, especially in the U.S., with situation with the Miller's test and all that, they want to change what the terminology obscenity is. And the thing about it is, you don't want to do that. You want to keep that Miller's test in fold in the United States, because basically that's going to change freedom of speech. It is truly going to do that. And most people do not realize. You got to read in between the lines. Don't be afraid to read in between the lines and see the truth on there. This is nothing of a far right, far left. This is coming from both sides of the aisle. This is not one angel group that's that's saying that we need to stop porn and all that. This is both sides of the aisle that's doing this, and we're seeing this all over the world. We're seeing this out of Russia, Australia, France, Germany, many places that are doing this. And you may ask yourself, who do we have on our end? Who is fighting to that, saying that we can't do this on there? Well, we found out recently Iceland has a pirate party, and basically the pirate party is looking to overturn an outdated porn ban. Yeah, that's right. Iceland has had a porn ban for many years, and basically it looks like there are several members of the ruling party in Iceland. Basically, they're looking to push to overturn a porn ban. And we're going to read this off XBiz. But before we start, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share. Thank you for those who are tuning in. We do really appreciate it, because 2023 is going to be a rough year for us. And we're pushing to get to that on YouTube, to get to that 1,000 subscriber level. Hopefully we'll get to 700 within the next month or two. We're right now, that's our goal right now, to get to 700 within the next month or two. So thank you once again. So out of XBiz, Iceland's Pirate Party MP moves to overturn outdated porn ban. Iceland is currently debating a draft bill introduced by two members of the Pirate Party to overturn a total ban on pornography in the North Atlantic region. The legislation submitted last September by the Pirate Party's MB Bjorn Levi Gunnarsson and Andres Anna, and I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Kristin Ardoti, would lift the current penalties for the publication, import, sale, and distribution of pornography, Iceland Review reported. The report added, however, that Iceland's pornography laws are largely unenforced, with the exception of occasional controversies. One of the several local groups supporting the overturn and the adequate censorship laws, the Icelandic BDSM Society, released a statement this week hailing the possibility that the anti-porn laws may end up finally being removed from the legal system. Many of our members have struggled within the deep shame because of their own feelings and desires, the statement explained. This shame arises from growing up in a society that closes its eyes to the diversity of human sexuality and insists on outdated attitudes about sexual relations. For example, outdated ideas about the purity of women, the privileging of the marital relationship between one man and one woman over all forms of relationships and the beliefs on what is and what is not normal sex. The group also noted that the current technology makes it trivial, easy access to pornography, making the enforcement of such laws in the modern day essentially impossible, Island Review reported. The Icelandic BDSM Society also pointed out that the censorship laws further marginalize sex workers, making it more difficult to legally and safely make a living, and an advocate for sex education in schools from an early age. Now, I don't agree with sex education at an early age. It should be in the high school as far as biology. Always remember that. Biology is what you should be teaching kids in school once they reach that age that they're supposed to be getting it, and that's mostly in the first or second year of high school, and that's where it should be. That's where I got it, and that's where everyone else should be getting it at that point. But you also remember the situation on this. What Iceland was going through, and they say it was censorship. Because here is the thought of the whole thing. Remember this. When you say pornographic, who deems something pornographic? Is it something of nudity? Is it something where it's sex? Is it something whereas it's girls in bikinis or men in shorts? You know, this is the whole situation on there. People calling it, and it's the same thing, like I said, with the Miller's test and stuff and that, what is obscene. People call many things pornographic, and it is not pornographic in most natures. And that is what the problem is that you could sit there, and it's the same thing when calling someone racist. If someone disagrees with you, you know, people are calling people racist for that reason. And this is the same situation. There are people out there saying, oh, anime is pornographic. Which anime are you talking about? Oh, all anime. No, all anime is not pornographic. Yes, you have hentai. Yes, you have nudity. But you have nudity in films. You have nudity in magazines, art, and, you know, many places. You can't say that, you know, something is pornographic because you say it is. And that's the major issue of the crux of the whole argument to the situation. The other half of it is, and depending on what country you're in the United States, they're trying to change the rules so they can change the Constitution. See, put that in your mind. Yeah, there are those on the left, and then there are those on the right who want to change the Constitution, change the freedom of speech. Because remember, before the Miller's test, there was a time that if you were a comedian, aka Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, you were arrested in certain states for violating obscenity laws. That's where, you know, Carlin came out with the 7 words you could not say. He was arrested for that. And then you had others who made porn movies at the time and were arrested for that as well, aka the movie Deep Throat. If you know the history, if you know your porn history, there were many films that were deemed and not only porn, that were deemed not watchable, that they were banned. Stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, so think about it when they tell you, well, we have to redo the obscenity laws. See, when you remove the Miller's test, you're giving the license for anyone to say, hey, that is obscene. I don't like that. And it could be anything. It could be a documentary. It could be a kid's show. It could be something educational, something they disagree with. And that's the crux of the situation, is that if it's a disagreement, it should be outlawed. That's Marxist. That's, you know, that's socialist. This is from the playbook. And it's been done many times over in many countries. Russia is doing it now again. They've banned gay porn. They've banned anime and manga, certain ones on there. They're banning anything. Actually, as far as the gay ban is that they're banning anything that's gay. Anything that's gay, LGBTQ, trans, they're banning all of that. You know, I heard people, there was an article, I think it's Vice that put out, that they're saying that certain trans people, they want to go leave this country, comparing it to the Holocaust, and go to other countries away from this. I said, good luck if you go to all the way countries, because they're the ones putting laws that violate human rights. So go right ahead. But like I said, you know, Iceland to remove this is a good step. Pushing that this is censorship. It is censorship out there. Don't believe me? Read the bills that are coming out by guys like J.D. Vance, Mike Lee, and many others who have been sitting there trying to stop certain content not to be shown on the internet or overall. The same thing in the United Nations. Like the United Nations wants to shut down the anime and manga industry because they're calling it CP. So it's not CP. Is there ones being made in CP? Yeah, those are the illegal ones. You know, they want to compare, as what Vice News did, Lolly to the standard anime industry. Lolly is just one subject matter, you know, one title in many other titles like hentai and isekai and many others throughout the anime industry. There are things that I don't like. There are things in anime I don't like. Doesn't mean that it needs to be banned. Unless it's violating the law. But see, that's what the Militest protects. Militest protects the lolly, it protects the anime, it protects the manga, it protects the pornography, it protects comedy, raunchy comedy. Could you imagine Dave Chappelle getting arrested if the Militest was removed? Could you imagine that? Think about that for a minute. Think about that before you comment below. Because if you think it can't happen, it has happened. There are people who have made jokes around the world and have been arrested. There are people who sat there doing nothing but praying in their mind, being arrested by the thought police. Think about that for a minute. Think about all the stuff that's going on around the world right now, on the things that I've mentioned. The fight is here. Join the revolution against this. Be aware. Speak up. Tell your congressman or congresswoman that you're not going to put up with this. You're not going to put up with all the bullshit. Louisiana has already put up, and we're going to discuss on that, they put up a blocker where you have to identify yourself to get on a porn site. Identify yourself. You're no, if you know, get a VPN, because basically they want you to identify yourself. What does that sound like? Oh, gee, that's the lawsuit that Robin Bird and the gay cable network put up years ago, back in the 90s, when Time Warner wanted to block their channels, and in order for you to watch their channels, you had to fill out a card identifying yourself that you wanted this channel. But meanwhile, you didn't need that card, so you'd be able to get pay-per-view, porn pay-per-view. Think about that. Think about where it's coming from. All right? So comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.